Have you guys ever heard of the phrase band-aid on a bullet hole? Now, this is a metaphor used to describe an attempt to fix a serious problem with a superficial or temporary solution, often used in the context of emotional or relational wounds. This phrase suggests that some problems are too deep or complex to be solved with simple fixes or a band-aid solution. It's a way of saying that a superficial approach won't address the underlying issue. And that, my friend, is what we're going to be talking about today, about how even though Verdansk is coming in April with season 3, this whole nostalgia, bring it back to the roots, bring it back to the old school Warzone 1, it's not going to be enough, and these are the reasons why. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Pure Noble, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Even though Verdansk is coming in season 3, is going to be coming in April 3rd, the idea that this game is going to be saved by simply bringing back nostalgia. They're relying so hard on nostalgia that they're bringing back the floating items, they're bringing back the old school buy stations, they're bringing back the old school artwork, they're bringing back the old school Gulag. All of these exterior features that made Warzone 1 great aesthetically is still not going to save this game. So in my opinion, these are going to be the 3 consistent issues and underlying issues that Activision has not fixed or addressed in a main important way before coming in season 3. They're not addressing any changes to it, they're not giving us any update to it, and I'm a Twitter head. I'm on Twitter. Well, I try to be on Twitter because that's where you get majority of the Call of Duty news, but even then, me keeping up with their post, I have not seen any genuinely new information or update that is going to save season 3. And I do want to add a couple of disclaimers, guys, because I'm not purely ignorant. I'm not purely going to be siding on one side or the other. There are news articles and people saying, and in the Twitter space, that Warzone is going to die if Verdansk doesn't perform the way it's supposed to perform. But really, guys, let's think logically for a second about this, okay? Warzone is a free-to-play game. It is accessible to almost all gaming platforms out there: Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, you name it. The biggest percentage of the player base is a casual gaming base. So honestly, all of these positives and negatives, they don't think too much of it. They just want to be able to get on the game, play a couple of hours, get off the game, and hey, if they have a good time, they have a good time. If they don't, then, you know, there's another day. That's what a casual player mindset is. So unless you make Warzone no longer a free-to-play where someone has to pay money to play Warzone, and if there's honestly a game-breaking bug where in the next 3 months you honestly can't log into the game, Warzone will not truly die. And the second disclaimer that I want to add is that the anti-cheat, right? I'm always going to be talking about the anti-cheat, the lack thereof, the strengths that it has, the strengths that it doesn't have. But honestly, cheating will never die. And this is not just for Call of Duty. This is for any FPS game. There is always going to be incentive to cheat. There is always going to be bad actors, and there's always going to be a percentage of the human population that is going to want to take the easy way out, regardless if it's moral or not, whether if it's respecting your fellow players in a competitive environment. They want to have fun in their own way, and if their own way is to cheat in order to have fun, then, you know, we can't stop that. And with Ricochet constantly evolving, constantly updating, unless we're sitting in the dev chair, unless we actually know how much money is being enforced in the anti-cheat department or allocated to the anti-cheat department, we're never going to truly understand the capabilities that they have. The most that we can go on is just broad statements about Activision being a billion-dollar company and why they can't just take 100% of those earnings or that profit to be put into the anti-cheat department. Who knows? What if that was possible and it really is just a technological limit where we don't have the specific programs to detect these cheaters? And even if we did, then it's going to be a back and forth between cheaters now trying to find a way to circumvent that obstacle that Activision has put in front of them. So at the end of the day, I'm not ignorant to the fact that I'm going to believe that cheating is going to be down 100%. But I also want to leave the benefit of the doubt that Activision is not putting in enough effort to actually lower that percentage by an impactful way. And the last thing, guys, is to actually see impactful change. Yes, we could put it all on the devs, we can put it all on Activision, but you also got to look at the player base too. We have too many different ideologies of how the game should be played, about how players should play, whether they have even the authority to dictate how players should play or not and shame others for not playing a specific way. Because of this divide, we're never gonna truly unite to make a meaningful impact, to go against Activision, to try and force change and to actually make them listen to what the community wants, because what the community wants is 100 different things. Sorry for going on a tangent, guys, but before we get into the rest of the video, I just want to do another channel shout out. We have Tickle Slip, where he has 6,000 subs, 2,300 videos. As you can see in this picture, he is another variety gamer. He talks about other news in the streaming space. He has personal takes and opinions on the cheating scene, and also has some nice clips and gameplay. So if you have a chance, drop by his channel. If you do like his content, please sub to it. If anything, let's get to the rest of the video, guys. Thank you. All right, so the first big underlying issue is cheating. Cheating, okay? They never addressed a new anti-cheat update. The only thing that we've seen in regards to news that Activision has done is send cease and desist letters to cheat discords, to cheat resellers. And, you know, to say that it's not making 100% impact, no, we can say that it is doing some. But based on what we've been seeing on Twitter, on Instagram, on all these other social media platforms, if you look in the comments of COD related videos, the cheating scene is still apparent. It almost seems like the cheating population hasn't even decreased, and it's also showing that in game. Now, whether you want to be that type of player to say, oh, you know, that player is just bad and he just can't tell the difference between aimbot and non-aimbot, or someone using walls or map awareness, right? We can go back and forth on this debate. But remember, there are bad actors on both sides. There are players who don't necessarily understand the game fully and thinks everyone is cheating, correct? But you also have other players who are cheating, who want to be able to cover their tracks as much as they can. And most times, cheaters who are trying to cover their tracks, what do? They gaslight the rest of the player base. They try to downplay the cheating scene. They try to say things like, oh, it's been months since I've seen a hacker, or, oh no, I mean, all of these shots hit correctly, bro. You just don't know how to control recoil. It constantly goes to gaslighting, because honestly, that's the only weapon that they have to use. But going back to what I was saying, Activision has not gave any meaningful update about how they're changing the anti-cheat, whether they're getting a new anti-cheat program, whether they're getting a new anti-cheat team, whether they're updating the kernel access on the anti-cheat program. They have not mentioned anything tangible that the players can look at, the community can look at, to say, oh wow, Activision is actually doing something. They just think, oh yeah, let's send out a couple of cease and desist letters, and then all the players are going to believe that the anti-cheat is going to be 100% effective. Do they really think we're that stupid? And the second biggest issue is the servers. Activision has been running 20 Hz tick rate servers since Verdansk. Now, whether this is a technological issues where it's super hard to get thousands of players online and trying to have the same type of latency and connection, maybe not, but you know, I'm guessing it's more so a technological limit, because if that was the case, you would see other games like Apex running more than 20 Hz tick rate servers, Fortnite running more than 20 Hz tick rate servers. But unfortunately, those games run the same tick rate servers. And on top of that, you still have cheaters using cheat programs to be able to physically crash the servers, being able to target players in the lobby and getting them forcefully banned. So on top of server instability and its inability to provide connection and update past 20 Hz tick rate, what about the security of the players? What makes it think that a player who is cheating can't have the additional ability to get the information from another player on their computer? We've had interviews where cheat sellers and cheat makers saying they have the capability to do so, and they're just waiting on Activision to throw their hand to say, hey, can you stop me or not? And unfortunately, I guess Activision doesn't care about that. You also got to look at server locations and server count. Ever since they introduced dedicated servers, I believe they started this with Call of Duty Ghost, they've been running the same amount of servers up to this day. Maybe add one or two. I think their most recent addition for server add-on was somewhere in the Middle East, but even then, that was like 3 or 4 years ago that I've heard about that news. Now, don't get me wrong, dedicated servers on technological terms is still better than a peer-to-peer connection, because peer-to-peer connection wasn't as secured. You know, a lot of people could still mess with your lobbies back then, but hey, they're still doing that now. So honestly, there really isn't a difference. The main thing about peer-to-peer connection back then was that it based your match on ping connection. The way peer-to-peer connection used to work back then in the OG Call of Duties is that the one player, they would take one player and start the lobby based on that player's connection. So for example, if that player resided in California, the players that are going to be in that lobby are going to be region locked to California. And that's what created an even playing field in multiplayer matches, because genuinely everyone had the same connection. They didn't have SBMM, they didn't have EOMM trying to bring random players from other sides of the country and trying to group it up for the sake of skill-based matchmaking or for the sake of trying to have the fastest queue time for a match. In my opinion, I think that's what made the OG COD lobbies better, is that the OG COD lobbies, one, were random, and two, were connection based. They understood that having the same connection for all players meant a more even playing field for that match. All their movement registered the same, all their bullets registered the same. They didn't have lag compensation as hard as they do now. And I can attest to this because as a Hawaii player, before dedicated servers, when I would play, a lot of players in Hawaii would stay together, and the only time the match went bad is when one of us got pulled to a server match that is in California, that is in Florida. But that would rarely happen. I would say maybe 1 out of every 10 games we get pulled out of Hawaii, and then we'd have to quit that match so that we can queue in to Hawaii players playing online. But because of SBMM, because of EOMM, even if players use programs like VPNs or like NetDuma to geolock themselves to a closer server to them, they're still going to be pulled out of that region because Activision is trying to have the fastest queue time in the lobby. And I don't know the profit side, right? We don't know how much it specifically costs to add a server. So for example, you know, our Oceania players like me in Hawaii, right? How much will it actually cost to add a server location, you know, in our state, in our area? And you also got to look at how much players are specifically benefiting. For example, if Hawaii or the Oceania region only had at most maybe 20,000 players, are they going to actually spend the money to say, hey, let's add a server there to benefit the 20,000 players and it's going to cost us X millions of dollars? Will that investment actually equate to players being happy and spending money to put back into the company? That is what Activision is thinking, and that's what their mindset is. They are not going to make any specific changes that is not going to benefit them as a business. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a business. Now, I'm not trying to defend Activision and their business tactics. I'm just thinking this is the reality of how people run. And this is what I mean about what you can do as a player to make a meaningful impact to force Activision's hand. Simply not playing the game isn't going to be enough. It's for the individuals that are still buying these Black Cell Battle Passes. It's for these individuals who have this weird addiction to buying everything in the bundle shop. Call of Duty is not making their money off of the physical copies sold of this game. They are making money through the bundle shop. And I've said this before in my previous videos. From 2012 to 2022, actual game units sold has decreased over the years. But with the introduction of DLC content, paid DLC content, and now bundle shop purchases, that profit revenue stream has increased by 245%. Activision does not care if you buy the multiplayer game or not. They care about your addiction to buying these Black Cell Battle Passes and these bundle skins. And if you're not going to stop that, and if they're still going to get money from that, why are they going to change? So to conclude this video, guys, in my opinion, Verdansk is not going to save Warzone. If they don't fix the cheating issue, if they don't fix the server instability, if they don't stop with these manipulative methods of getting these players to constantly stay on the game and buying these battle passes on bundle shop purchases by using tactics like SBMM and EOMM, if their goal is trying to get Warzone back to its peak in 2019, their goal is going to fail. But if anything, guys, that is all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like the content, please drop a like to the video, drop a sub to the channel. It's going to mean a lot. All right, have a good one. Noble out.